going to tell you what I tell my clients, but in a different context, is that you can do all your renderings, you can do all your floor plans, you can do all your measurements, and the science looks good, but it's still an art. So you have to when that furniture is actually in, you could have measured it to the millimeter, but when that's in, it's just different to what you're seeing on paper. And it's the same as like doing your course and putting it to your business. There's an art to making it yourself, but it was such an incredible scientific basis.
All right. I'm Rebecca Hay, and I've built a successful interior design business by trial and error, podcasts, online courses, and so many freaking books. Over the last decade, I've grown from an insecure student to having false starts to careers, and now I'm finally in the place where I want to be. Throughout my journey, it's been pretty obvious that I'm passionate about business and helping other entrepreneurs do the same. Each week, I'll share tangible takeaways from my own experience and the experiences of other badass women to help you build your confidence and change your business. Hey, it's Rebecca, and you're listening to Resilient by Design. Today, I am interviewing Natalie Froom, who is the driving force behind Studio 180 Design, a company that she built from the ground up into a thriving, respected interior design studio here in Toronto, Canada. She is a Pop alum, was at my mastermind last week, and she is a true force. With degrees in psychology and nutrition, she took a very extended sabbatical to focus on raising a large family, which was her first empire that she built. She's done a lot of things. As of nearing 5 years ago, she now has taken all that experience in dealing with people, personalities, schedules, problem solving, multitasking, and impeccable organizational skills, and combined it with her passion for design, for creating beautiful spaces. Natalie balances her personal and professional life with precision and passion. Her work is a testament to her belief in the transformative power of design, and her dedication has made Studio 180 Design synonymous with innovation and excellence. She is a true force. Natalie shares with you this transition, how she decided and why she decided in her 40s to open an interior design firm. Now, 5 years in, it is thriving. We talk through power of process and the role that course played in helping her really solidify the foundation of her business and some of the key takeaways that have really made a difference for her. So you guys are going to enjoy this episode with Natalie. Her nugget of wisdom is phenomenal. She shares a very funny but unique visual at the end that you're going to like. So hang on till the end so you can hear this, which is a really great reminder to all of us. I hope you enjoy this episode with Natalie. Welcome to Resilient by Design, Natalie. I'm very excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So I can't wait to dive into all the things. I just spent some time with you here in my studio at the Mastermind, and so I really got to know your business well. And I've known you for a little while now. We run into each other from time to time. We ran into each other at a personal business development conference. You've taken Power of Process. So I feel like I've got a good sense of where you're at, and I think you are a true inspiration, which is why I wanted to have you on the podcast so that other designers can listen to your story and your path and feel inspired and have confidence to take that leap of faith. So here we go. But before we dive into all the questions, maybe if you can introduce yourself to my listeners today.
Okay, so I am Natalie Froom. I am the founder and principal designer of Studio 180 Design. I have been in business this is my 5th year, and we have seen a very steady growth and development and evolvement in every part of the business, from creative, big vision, and certainly, since I've taken your course, the power of the process. Because having not had a process when I began, it certainly limited me in what I was capable of doing. And I knew I had this much bigger vision for my company. And I was starting to develop these processes, but it took a very long time. And then I'd been following you for a while, and I took the dive, and it's really been like a game changer completely. So we do turnkey high-end interior design and renovations. Basically, I'm very service oriented. I want my client to have the experience I'd want to have being in good hands and having just a fantastic team behind me and taking the stress out of it. Because if you've ever done a renovation, there are a myriad of decisions to make, and each decision is based upon the previous one. And that's where our expertise and vision and network really helps a lot.
I love it. And I love your accent, which I'm sure you don't hear. Can you tell the listeners where you're from originally?
So I grew up in South Africa. The funny thing is, I have lived in Canada way longer than I lived in South Africa, but I think once you finish high school, it stays, like you're done.
Yeah, I love it. It's so beautiful.
It's kind of cool having an accent sometimes.
Totally. People are probably just like mesmerized. I could just see you in a presentation with clients. They're like, okay, whatever you say. So beautiful. It's so soothing. Your voice is so soothing. Anyways, so, okay. You have this thriving business 5 years in. You now have a solid process. You're doing these
Mhm,
incredible projects,
mhm,
but you've only been doing this for 5 years. And
mhm.
you're not fresh out of school, right? Like you've had some life experience under your belt.
Yeah,
Would it
yeah.
not from looking at you? You look like you're in your 20s. But can you maybe just give everyone a little bit of background to how you ended up opening up the doors to your design firm 5 years ago?
Okay, so actually, a couple of years ago, my kids gave me a book for Mother's Day, and it had this beautiful poem in it, and it said, I said, now you've built your first empire, being my large family. I'm very blessed with a very large family. And but now they're getting big. Like my youngest is already in middle school, and um, I decided I was time to take a chance to do what I wanted to do. But not that I didn't want to bring up my family, but now it's like I'm entering a new phase in life, and I wanted to just build my second empire. So having had a background in psychology and the sciences, I decided I was always very much fed by creative things. So it was my time to explore that. And even when I was setting up my practice, I'm originally a nutritionist. The favorite part of that whole process, apart from really helping my clients, which I still do, was decorating my office.
Of course.
That should have been the first clue there. But really, over the years when I've traveled and I see things and uh, renovations I've done personally and for friends, I always felt this. I used to think that if something makes your heart sing, it's the right thing to do. So
Oh,
that's how I got into design. And when I started, I had a very small vision as to how it should be. But as I got more clients and I grew and I got more experience and I saw all the resources that are available to us and these incredible things that you can do, my vision, my creativity and everything, as well as my business has expanded.
I love that. I love that. So you have, I would say, what, at least a decade of experience working, probably more in nutrition and raising your family. And
Mhm.
so this is something that you're coming at a little bit later, right? It's like the next, as you said, the next phase.
So there's a phrase that I love and it's called fearless in 50. So I started this when I was in my mid 40s, is when I first got the idea. And I said, I need to just do something different. I have all these skills that I have, like having brought up now my sixth teenager, thank goodness, pretty much.
I'm sorry, say that again. I'm sorry. You have had 6 teenagers?
I'm on to my sixth, my
You're on
last.
to your sixth. I only have teenagers. They've all grown up. Wow. Oh my, you must be a parenting expert.
We can do anything. And actually, teenagers is not management, it's sales. I'd say
Ooh, that's a whole other podcast.
it's a whole other podcast. Exactly, exactly. But having juggled many different, being part of the sandwich generation and having a big family and even immigration, even though it takes like I've had a lot of these life experiences, and if they don't bring you down, they build you up. And I just loved having. I've always had to be very organized and very inventive, very big on problem solving. Like my kids come to the problem, I'm like, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. That's one.
Mm.
Um, and then I had all this creative energy, like I needed to get out. Like you can only throw so many pretty beautiful dinners or help so many people renovate their house. I'm like, why am I doing this? And we're feeling so fulfilled with it, but I really need to get paid for it because I think there's a lot to be said about um, as a woman being proactive in many aspects of your life. So that's how I came to it. And I think a lot of people at my age think that, as my age, I really sound old, but that they think that this is like they need to wind down. And I get very frustrated when I hear that, because this is really your time to wind up.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So would you say that you started interior design as a hobby? Like you mentioned friends and family. Were you doing this, but for free for people?
Pretty much. I was doing it for free. I was helping people. I was doing it for free. I was doing a lot of stuff around my house. We'd moved. Um, in fact, we moved into this house we're in now the day of that my son turned 8 days old.
Oh my goodness, baby, baby.
Talk about being organized.
Holy moly, you're crazy, lady.
Done some work. It was an older home. And like, I just found it so, I'm very much like you, your surroundings definitely influence how you think, how you feel, the atmosphere it creates in your home. It should be a reflection of you and also of what you deserve, you know?
Mm.
And so it just evolved that if I was going to do anything, I wanted to do something that was just fed my soul and the souls of my clients.
So I mean you're preaching to the choir here. Everyone listening is like, yes. And either they've already taken that leap and they're running their business, or they just are desperate to start and they just don't know how or when. Tell me about that transition from doing it for free to starting to charge people. What was that like? And was it easy or difficult and challenging for you to start charging money for something you've been doing for free?
It was certainly a shift. It had to be a mental shift. And what else I was, my bigger mental shift is like having the confidence to say, these are my expertise and I deserve to be paid for them. And this is experience that I bring to the table. So in the initial, it's like, oh, um, like, this is how much I charge an hour. Like, is it okay with you? You know? And then as I got more experienced and I listened to more people in business and business coaches, and I was been following you for a long time, Rebecca, that like you deserve to be paid for what you're good at. And
Mm.
like, so it definitely was a shift. Now I've like over the years and over the projects, and as I've gained more, as I said, experience, expertise, which is just like exploded, thank goodness, is that no, like now, like I'm not afraid to be paid for what I deserve and for what I'm worth. But it
Hmm.
definitely was a shift in the beginning. And I meet young designers, and not, I shouldn't say young, new designers. And there's definitely, you can almost see where they're at in their business by the way they hold themselves, about the confidence you exude, because it is a
Mm.
process. It is a process.
Yeah. And you know, it isn't, it actually has nothing to do with age. So you're right in saying that it's newer, not younger. You know, I just interviewed, and you know her, Anika Shackler,
Oh,
for the
she's
podcast, who's
amazing.
amazing. She was in the mastermind with us, and she's only, I think, 27 or 28 years old.
But
And
she brings so
she
much to the table.
and she's so confident and she's growing her team. It really doesn't matter what your age is, whether you're younger or you're middle aged or even older. It's about the mindset. Absolutely. That's a huge piece of it. So let's talk about power of process, because I'm curious and I'm not fully familiar with, when did you take pop in relation to starting your business?
So I took her pop not so long ago, within the last year. It was not the first coaching design course I'd taken. I'd taken another one, which was very helpful, but I definitely found that pop was more concise and it streamlined it more. Now, I don't know, honestly, if that was because I had a better idea behind me of what I was doing, or
Mm.
but I did find it was in bite size, understandable, clear, concise pieces that I could really, was very easy to institute, and it's been very, very helpful.
Wow, I love hearing that. You know, part of my passions is teaching, but it's also curriculum. And so for me, that's wonderful to hear, because I mean, I'm not trained in this world, but it's always my intention to teach things in a building block type of way, so that I mean, there will be some amount of overwhelm as you get new information
Yeah.
that you don't have. And again, if you're really new, it might feel like it's so much information. If you're a bit more experienced, it's not as much, but
Mm.
it's starting it with building the foundation and then bite size, as you said, those little bite size steps to get you there. And that's so wonderful to hear. Why did you decide to sign up for a pop? Like you'd done another course, you were already running your business for a few years. What made you like, where were you at and what made you decide to sign up for it?
I had just, my processes were coming along very well, but I just did not feel that I was there yet. I just felt like I needed that extra um clarity,
Push. Push, push, push. Rebecca's here to push me.
that extra push, that extra clarity to see that that I had all my ducks in a row, so to speak. That I
Hmm.
just wanted to, I just hearing you speak and listening to your podcasts and other guests that you had on the show, and just getting snippets of what to expect in pop, it didn't fail to disappoint. It was really easy to just level it up and put my brand into it and tweak it, like not huge tweaks at all, but just tweak it a little bit to make it mine. And
Yeah.
that's special about it.
I love that because I do say on repeat, I feel like a broken record, but that there really isn't a one size fits all to running a design business or to running a design project. But there are a lot of systems that you can use and repeat that others use. You just maybe use them in your own unique way. Would you say that that was your experience going through pop, is seeing what I do, but not necessarily needing to do it exactly my way, taking what worked for you and implementing?
I'm keeping it pretty close, but yes, I also did the pricing one before I did pop, which was also a great way to start, to see exactly how you put things together and how you work. And that was also very helpful. But I'm going to tell you what I tell my clients, but in a different context, is that you can do all your renderings, you can do all your floor plans, you can do all your measurements, and the science looks good, but it's still an art. So you have to, like,
Mm.
when that furniture is actually in, you could have measured it to the millimeter, but when that's in, it's just different to what you're seeing on paper. And it's the same as like doing your course and putting it to your business. There's an art to making it yourself, but it was such an incredible scientific basis. It was very exact to what I needed. Does that make sense?
That's fantastic. I don't see myself as very scientific at all. So my sister, who's a scientist, will laugh when she hears this. She'll be like, "Well, that's amazing." No, but I that makes a lot of sense. It's the foundation, right? It's this is the blueprint, but it's how you style it. It's how you create those PDFs. It's how you use the verbiage in your website. It's how you talk to your clients, and we all have our own unique design aesthetic. And if you haven't figured it out yet, then I encourage you to spend some time, not you, but anyone listening, but to really think about like, who am I? What are my differentiators? What makes me unique? And we do dive into that, of course, inside the
Yeah.
course, inside pop. I think that's a huge part of
Yeah.
success.
It is a huge part. And as you evolve, you're going to take different things from pop and see like, oh, that's what she meant. And that's what she means. And now I can apply it here. And now I can apply it there.
Yeah,
So
I love that. Is there, could you think of one example of something that you pulled from Power of Process, some technique, some tip that you have implemented in your business that maybe was surprising that you hadn't considered before?
mm, definitely the streamlining of it, if I have to think about that, like the trade day, like and coming back for the client budget and review, it just like cut down a lot of steps for me. Um, what else can I say? And then a lot like you speak a lot about presentations and onboarding and things like that. So and tire kickers, like who's really interested in that, and charging for the first consult. I've definitely been able to, my biggest takeaway was boundaries. There's definitely much better.
Boundaries. Mm.
Yeah. Boundaries in that, not boundaries that you're not available to your client, but boundaries that you set within yourself to make you more effective design and be show up better for your clients.
I love that. It's like I said I was going to take this time to work on this aspect of the project, I'm going to honor that. I have the space to do that now because I've set up my process in such a way. I love that. Boundaries is such a big learning for many of us. So I think we spend our whole lives, some of us, learning that lesson.
Yeah, because we people pleasers. You always say we people creatives are people pleasers, and we are.
Hmm.
We can't please if we try and please everyone all the time. And it's not about not pleasing our clients, it's just about having a process and those boundaries to get everything done in an orderly manner instead of like just keep going back to making everyone happy all the time. Believe me, you're going to be
Yeah.
in a second to like make sure it's like perfectly in line for you.
So this comes back to this, constant conversation that we're having here on the podcast about balancing creativity and organization, right? So that's what I'm hearing is like, you want to be creative, but then you also need to be organized. So as someone who appears to be very obviously creative, but also clearly very organized, how do you strike that balance then? You take this course, now you want to implement everything. There's the creative brain, the organized brain. Like, how do you have that balance between artistic vision and those practical demands of running a successful design studio because there's a lot that can pull your attention.
There's a lot that can pull your attention. And that's why I've also enjoyed like having a more defined process. If you can, definitely at your earliest possibility that you can do this is get admin help. Like
Administration. Yep.
that is very helpful. Otherwise, like as you're getting into your design process, so to speak, then something paperwork and orders and all that comes up. So that is very helpful as well, as soon as you can do that. And
Hmm.
blocking time to be creative, blocking time, so undisturbed, like with kids, it's very hard because you're
Yeah.
as a small business owner. But if you can like, and also do things that makes you creative, whether it's going for a walk or going to a store or going to travel or going to a show, or like I always try and look at the elements that I think whenever I walk into a room, like even in the most disorganized, there's going to be something that's going to spark your creative process. For me anyway, it does.
Hmm. It's about
I,
giving yourself that space to be creative.
you need space. You need
Mhm.
space to be creative. You do. And it's very important to do that.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't remember where I first was made aware of this concept. And it was as I was building out process and learning from coaches and reading all the books, is this idea that actually the more structure you have, the more creative freedom it allows, which it sounds counterintuitive, right? It's like, no, 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 I'm a creative. I don't want to be held by a schedule. I just want to wake up and do what I feel like. The problem with that is the more urgent, pressing issues are going to come in and you're going to spend your day responding to emails, sending invoices, following up on getting a price check, like all the things. And you won't actually take the time for yourself, again, boundaries to respect your own boundaries to say, no, 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 I really want to get creative here. And it's actually the opposite that as a creative, when you have structure to your week and to a project, that's where process is so beneficial because you have a structure, you know what's coming ahead, you have a set way of running every project. So you're always going to have these chunks of time in certain steps to tackle certain tasks. And it allows you that space to go for the walk, to meet with your team, right? Go and spend the morning at Cravat, grab a coffee or a latte and look at what's new and inspiring. I never had the time to do that when I was early in my business. I used to envy, I'd be at Cravat and I'd look over and I remember seeing a designer and she just had her tea and she's like, oh yeah, I just got back from Italy. And she's like looking at the fabrics and I'm like, oh my God, I have like places to be, things to do. I do not have the luxury of that time.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have to be more disciplined about that. But it's becoming more and more evident how important that is. Yeah, it's almost a decompress. When you're looking at beautiful fabrics or beautiful furnishings, if you just like embrace that you're there in the moment, that is when it all happens pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you're constantly running the hamster wheel in your head of all the to-dos, it's mentally exhausting and draining.
Mhm.
And I love your advice to hire an admin. That was definitely one of my biggest takeaways in my design business because I started first with like interns and junior designers who then needed to do the admin, but they weren't really admin people and they didn't really want to do it because they were creatives. And so there was this constant struggle of like things would slip through the cracks or they wouldn't do the math right or, because that wasn't where they wanted to spend their time. So I do think that's excellent advice. I'm actually trying to take that advice now in my online business because honestly, Natalie, yesterday, I was thinking, like, I'm feeling so overwhelmed. What's going on? I'm like, right. I don't have somebody who I can delegate a lot of these, I'm going to say menial tasks to. Like, hey, can you send this person that invoice? Can you connect that thing? Like, I've got help with marketing, I have help in other areas, but those administrative tasks that initially, when this was a side hustle, when this was a hobby, I didn't really need help with that. But now, as I'm taking it more seriously, there's a lot that goes on that is pulling my attention away from podcasting, from, updating a course or creating something else or meeting with designers and hosting events. And so it's advice that I think anyone in any business can take is like start with that, especially as a creative, start with that administration.
So we had spoken about like, would you want to be the CEO or the CFO, or do you want to be that? We spoke about those different things. And I think it applies to any business, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I've had creative business owners take pop, interestingly enough, because
Yeah.
they said it applies. I mean, the examples are direct to the interior design industry, and it's been made that way intentionally because I think it's very helpful to see real life examples, but it's every business needs it. And that is where I see the beauty and the transformation in designers like yourself who are getting really serious about we're treating this like a business. This is my process. And I don't know if you've had this experience yet. Have you ever made an exception to your process and said to a client, you know what, sure, and you do it not how you intend to do it, but you make an exception. You're like, well, I'll just this one time.
And it invariably backfires one way or another. Um, I can say it's not that I've made the exception, it's that I didn't have the process yet. So as I was growing, I can see like in certain projects that the client was fine, but it wasn't fine for me. The project came out great and everything came out great, but I did not come out great. And I think you can only grow and get better and better and better if you and your client come out of a project great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always say stick to your process, don't veer from your process because it always backfires, as you say, and I always usually regret it. And I did hear somebody say once, if you don't have a process, if you're not following a process that's yours, you're following your client's process.
Very much so.
And your client doesn't have a process because they've probably never done this before.
Sometimes you find a client is just like all over the place. And you sort of like all over the place with them. And what that client really needs is someone to take the lead. And
Yes.
not in a negative way. It's just like that is your job. If they wanted to think of 1,000 things and have 1,000 decisions, they wouldn't have hired you.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you need to be the host of the party. Like I say, when it's the consultation, you might be in their house, but you're in charge. You need to take the lead really from the beginning, from the get go. And that's where your process is such a backbone because you can say, this is how we do things. And it makes you more confident. It makes you look more professional. It's incredibly, incredibly game changing.
Yeah, like the art is like we are here for you. We are listening to you. This is going to be your home, but it's our project, and you're going to love it. But just hand it over.
Hand over the reins, lady. I love it. Oh my gosh, this has been so amazing. Okay, Natalie, what last nugget of wisdom do you have for our listeners today?
So I'm going to say that it's never too late to do what you're passionate about. That would be my like go for it. Like if like like just go for it. And I say that to my clients a lot because a lot of my clients are people probably at the stage of life where their kids are grown, they've given everything to them, and they're like, okay, it's really like, how are we going to make this house? Like, I'm not go for it. This is your time. So anyone I say, it's like whatever stage, whether you are in your 20s and you've done one kind of education, but it doesn't speak to you, you want to be in this business for a long time. And no matter what you choose, you have to love what you do. So this isn't even my work. This is my pleasure. This is my passion. So follow your passion. And if you have little kids and you're waiting, like, I can't do this now, I'm waiting for them. If you can do it when you have kids, when you have smaller kids, do it. Don't wait. There's never going to be a good time for you to follow your dreams. So do it as soon as you can.
I love that advice. It's not just it's never too late to like pursue your dreams. I love that message that it's never too late, but don't wait, right? So I don't want never too late to be the message like, oh, I've got lots of time. One day I'll do it. It's like, no, no, no. Follow your dreams and follow your passion. Like when I started my business before I even got pregnant, like those were bumpy years. Like literally, I had baby bumps for two of them. It was freaking challenging. But you know what? I did it and I loved every second of it. Apart from the no having a process, being stressed, not making any money, I loved being creative. And so you really do need to lean into, and it's funny, I've been having this conversation with everybody. Lean into that passion, lean into that inner calling that is inside of you and just go for it. And I love that. You're such an inspiration, Natalie. Thank you so much.
I'm a tiny nugget. I have
Yeah, go. More
nine.
nuggets.
It's not pretty. I've actually got to make it interior design friendly, but it's of a stork eating a frog, and the frog's legs are hanging out of the stork's beak, but the frog has its hands around the stork's neck. And it says, never give up. So yes, there are hard days, but never give up. It's worth it. That's
I
my
love the visual. That frog is holding on. He's like, I'm going to strangle this stork before he can eat me. I love it. Kicking and screaming. Thank you so much for being my guest today on the podcast. Natalie, can you let everybody know where they can find and follow you?
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So on Insta, it's at studio180.design. And then my website is studio180design.ca.
And you told us at the mastermind, but can you just tell everybody here how you came up with that name?
Okay, so originally my business was called Natalie Froom Home Stylist. And I sort of did not want my name. I wanted something that was like a studio as opposed to just my name. I felt it was not like professional enough. As I was evolving, I'm like, this name doesn't suit my business anymore. It continued evolving, growing. So I had a very expensive piece of scientific equipment that I wanted to sell to invest into my company. And I called one of my previous professors and I was trying to sell it. And she said, oh, so what are you doing now? I'm like, well, I'm building an interior design company. And she said, wow, that's a 180. And I was like, wow, that's the name of my new company, Studio 180. This is my 180. It's my client's 180. We're just going to turn everything around and make it great. So that's
I
my
love it. I
name.
love it. And it's such a great story. Amazing. Thank you so much. We will have you back.
Oh, I'd love to come back. Thanks for everything, Rebecca. You're a true inspiration. Good luck with everything.
All right. Guys, Natalie is so lovely. Thank you, woman, for joining me today. I just have to say, your voice is just so lovely and soothing. And I'm so thrilled that you have had such a positive experience in growing your business in the last 5 years. It's amazing how quickly things can take off when you're really focused and dedicated. If you guys want to go give Natalie a follow, please, we will link her website and her Instagram in the show notes because I think she is going to be one to watch in the year ahead. Thank you, Natalie, for joining me today. And everybody, I will see you soon. One more thing. If you want to take Power of Process and have the incredible transformation that Natalie had, you want to go right now because the doors are currently open. They only open twice a year. Run to RebeccaHay.com/power of process or click on the show notes and join us inside the spring cohort that is about to begin. I'll see you there.